There seems to be a strange thing going on in the world of combat sports. One day, fans will look up to a well-liked fighter for their bravery or their impressive skills. The next day, fans no longer like that fighter at all for many different reasons. There have been many fighters in the UFC that fans loved for a long time, but then grew to hate over time. Many of these fighters are often talked about when talking about the best of all time, which might surprise the average UFC fan. Fighters who are so respected seem to have something strange about them. For some fans, it only takes one mistake, sometimes even a small one, to completely change how they feel about a fighter. Starting with four of the most loved. Brandon Moreno is loved for the same things that make Easy Prochazka so popular. He's fun to be around and his fights are always exciting. Moreno might be the exact opposite of Prochazka in terms of personality. The Mexican star is a ball of energy.
Brandon Moreno, you are now able to put this Davidson-Figueiredo chapter behind you. You are now a two-time flyweight champion of the world.
And his positive attitude and sense of humor have won him fans all over the world. He even won over Nate Diaz, a fighter who doesn't usually get along with others. Even more people like Moreno because of the way he fights. He has some of the best striking in his division and an excellent submission game to back it up.
I'm here with Brandon Moreno. Brandon, how good does it feel to put this chapter behind you?
Man, we thought each other in 5 weeks. This for me.
He uses both to win his fights. Most recently, he used a tap on Davidson-Figueiredo and a body shot on Kai Kara-France to win the interim belt. Still, Moreno's best quality might be the heart he shows in his fights. He isn't always in charge, and he's been in danger in the octagon more than once, but he's usually able to handle whatever comes his way, which makes his fans very happy. Alexander Volkanovski had to work hard to get the fans to love him, but it looks like he did it. He joined the UFC in 2016, and at first, it seemed like most fans could care less about him, not liked or disliked. Since then, this stock has had its fair share of ups and downs.
The undisputed UFC featherweight champion of the world, Alexander the Great Volkanovski.
Fans liked his hard-fought stoppage win over Chad Mendes in 2018, but they didn't like how he beat Jose Aldo in 2019 with a unanimous decision, and how he beat Max Holloway again in 2020 with a split decision.
Man, I just proved to you that I want to be in this octagon as much as possible. I want to be busy. I don't think this division itself can keep me busy.
But Volkanovski seems to have won fans' hearts for good this time. Maybe it's because of how nice he is outside of the cage. He seems like the kind of guy you'd want to have a few beers with. Maybe it's because of his recent performances inside it, like his entertaining fight with Brian Ortega, his beatdown of the Korean zombie Chan Sung-jung, and his latest masterpiece, a third decision win over Max Holloway. Or maybe it's because since Kamaru Usman lost to Leon Edwards this summer, Volkanovski is the best fighter in the world right now and can't be argued with. Even if you have something against him, you have to respect that. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's a good example of how a fighter doesn't have to win to be popular with the fans. The karate expert fought twice for the welterweight title, both times against Tyron Woodley, but lost both times.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
The first time, they fought to a draw, and the second time, Woodley won by decision. Still, Thompson has a lot of loyal fans and very few people who disagree with him. This is partly because of how he fights. He's one of the few real karate fighters in the UFC, and over the years, his style has led to some pretty impressive knockouts. Thompson's also been criticized for his cautious strategies, like the ones he used against Woodley and Darren Till. His personality's clearly the biggest reason why he's so popular.
You know what I mean? You're gonna see a better Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, baby. I'm out here for the long haul. Everybody out here, I appreciate you. Thank you, Orlando. I freaking love you. Let's go!
The welterweight is friendly and polite enough that fans gave him an unofficial NMF belt as a joke. The letter N means nicest. You can figure out the M and the F on your own. Derek Lewis is a great example of a fighter who became very popular even though he never won a title.
Derek the Black Beast Lewis.
He fought Daniel Cormier for the heavyweight title in 2018, but Cormier beat him by submission. Since then, he's never been that close to the title again. Still, almost everyone who likes to watch fights loves him. A big part of it is that he's willing to stand in there and bang. He's arguably the hardest puncher in the UFC, and his 13 knockout wins are the most in the history of the promotion. But like the other fighters on this list, Lewis is also liked for who he is as a person. The man from Houston has said some of the most memorable lines in UFC history, and he never lets down when he's in front of a microphone. microphone. He's lost his last 2 fights by knockout, but that won't change how fans feel about him. As for the most hated, Rashad Evans is a major player in the race for the UFC light heavyweight title, and he's working hard to get a shot at the title against the winner of Rampage versus Jones. Rashad Evans is another fighter on this list because he thinks he's better than everyone else. Evans has beaten many fan favorites, such as Rampage Jackson, Chuck Liddell, and Forrest Griffin. Evans showed off a lot during the fight against Forrest Griffin, which turned off a lot of fans. Evans was also a coach on The Ultimate Fighter with his rival, Rampage Jackson. Because he was going up against a fan favorite and a very well-known person in the sport, many fans turned against Evans and chose Rampage. John Fitch is on this list not because of who he is or how he acts, but because of how he fights. People say that Fitch has a grinding style, which means that he tries to play it safe and let the fight go to a decision rather than trying to win. Because of this, people say that Fitch is boring and not very interesting to watch, and he gets a lot of criticism for this. You might be surprised to see Jones on this list, but let me explain why.
Prostitutes? I beat you after a weekend of cocaine.
And prostitutes. Hey, wait.
Jeez.
I thought that first time was the first time you did cocaine. So wait.
Jones is a big favorite of mine. I think he's a great representative for the sport, and he's a good example of the young fighters who will take over when the legends retire.
See what this shirt says? I'm Reebok. It says unbroken, baby. This team is unbroken. Let's go, baby. And still.
How happy were you that you were able to take him down, not just once, but several times in this fight?
It felt great. I told you, man.
I can't help but notice how much criticism he gets from fans, though. Many of Jones's fans think that his humble attitude is just an act, and he's really cocky and full of himself. There is some truth to this. For example, he signed autographs as UFC champion before he even won the title. Others don't like Jones because he's beaten some fan favorites, like Matt Hamill and Shogun Rua, and showed himself to be stronger than them.
Hey, to break a record, to become a part of American history in this way, UFC history in this way, I wouldn't want it easy. I would not want it easy. If this stuff was easy.
Jones tells the story of how he caught a thief on the day of his title fight with Shogun. He does this in this video. Many people think Jones acts humble. What do you think, though? Do I really need to say why Chael Sonnen is on this list? To sum up, Chael Sonnen is by far and away the worst bad guy the UFC has ever seen. He's one of the best trash talkers in sports, and he's also a great showman and entertainer. He has, however, made a long list of enemies, which includes fighters from many different divisions. Anderson Silva, Wanderlei Silva, the Nogueira brothers, Crow Cop, Brock Lesnar, George St. Pierre, and even Brazil and Croatia are among his most well-known enemies. Fans and fighters have both been upset by the things he's said in his interviews, at conferences, and on the internet.